How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the next installment of the Ultimate Killer Guides. Today I'm going to be showing you everything to do with the twins. Now, the twins get a bad rep, and they're one of the most underplayed and underrated killers in the game. Easily S tier when used correctly, but for some reason hardly anybody plays them, and mostly everybody hates going up against them. But I think that's wrong, so today we're going to find out why and what makes the twins so good. So let's get straight into it. This is the Ultimate Twins Guide. Now, starting with add-ons, I'd honestly say they have a good range of add-ons. Unfortunately, the ones that you'll be using most, which are browns and yellows, and it makes them an extremely cheap killer to maintain. Starting with their best add-ons in my opinion, which would be the Toy Sword, which decreases the time it takes to charge Victor's pounce, as well as the Bloody Black Hood, which decreases the time it takes to swap back to Charlotte as Victor. These add-ons allow you to make your pounce much scarier for survivors, and the cooldown between switches gives you more pressure and the chance to do some cheeky mind games. Other decent add-ons to note are either Victor's speed add-ons, the Madeleine Scarf and the Forest Stew, which increase Victor's base movement speed by quite a considerable bit, the Stale Biscuit, which decreases Victor's pounce cooldown, or Tiny Fingernail, which decreases Victor's unbinding time. Basically, their best add-ons all revolve around doing what they already do, but quicker, whether it be swap speed, base speed, pounce, charge speed, anything like that, they are the best. The other ones are okay, some of them are hit and miss, some of them are alright, it's completely up to you to use. However, the ones that I've just listed are the ones I'd probably go for, and if you want the best add-ons to help with your build. Now moving on to their perks, same as before I'm going to be recommending 4 builds for 4 different playstyles and skill levels, but one thing that I want to mention before I start is when playing as Victor, the only perk benefits you get are the ones that are not specific to improving aspects of the killer. So for example, Ruin will still be in effect when you're running around as Victor, with other perks like Mind Break coming to mind. But if you want to run play with your food, Victor won't become faster, he won't see Tinkerer's pop or anything like that. I just wanted to mention that just in case anybody wasn't aware and wanted to bring perks to better Victor. You can't really. For high rank players, use Corrupt Intervention, Barbecue and Chili, Ruin and Undying. A very generic build, but each work with the twins in a really nice way. Corrupt so you can block gens and control 2/3 of the map at the start of the game whilst you send Victor out to scout. Barbecue to find out where to send him next after a chase and a hook, and Ruin and Undying to help pressure gens whilst either cleaning up as Victor or pressuring them as Charlotte. When I get to talking about their power and the way to use it, it should explain why this build works a little bit better. For newer players or those without many perks, go for Deerstalker, Sloppy Butcher, Whispers and Oppression. Deerstalker is fantastic as the twins are prone to slugging more than any other killer, as it is a kind of playstyle that they can depend on to get pressure. Sloppy Butcher to keep survivors injured, making them one-hit pounces with Victor for longer. Whispers to find out where survivors are, and Oppression to keep gens progress at a minimum when you can. For a Charlotte tank build, bring Sloppy Butcher, Lethal Pursuer, Save the Best for Last and Ruin. This makes Charlotte an absolute tank. Barely use Victor and try to injure as much of the team as possible. When everyone is injured and you've started to gain stacks, M1 down the normal survivors and Victor pounce on the obsessions. Nobody expects this build as most players use mainly Victor, so it's good for catching survivors off guard. And lastly, for those of you who want like a memey speed build, run both Madeleine Scarf and Forest Stew along with Play With Your Food, Corrupt Intervention, Haunted Ground and Hex Undying. Get stacks as fast as possible with Charlotte of Play Your Food and then use Victor early game to get some pressure going. When Haunted Ground pops, swap back to Charlotte and immediately go on the aggressive at a ridiculous speed. Another great build to catch survivors off guard. But that's pretty much perks and add-ons explained. Let's get to their power, Blood Bond. This has to be one of the most underrated powers in the game, which is easily the reason why twins are a S tier killer. As they are able to cover up so much of a map with pressure, it's insane whilst doing damage with both sides. Now, the best way to use the power is to take Charlotte somewhere in the map that you want to pressure with her presence before swapping out to Victor and quickly scan the map and assess the survivors' locations before going in and starting to damage the survivors. The best way to think of the twins is to say that Charlotte is the sentry and Victor is the scout. Charlotte is slower, but even dormant she controls wherever she is, and with Victor as a scout he is small, fast and can cover his presence quickly across the entire map, then through his pounce deal a lot of damage to the survivors once he's located them. And because of this, you want to be spending a lot of time as Victor, as he is better at pressuring survivors than Charlotte, and he is the person you're going to be probably getting most downs with, and dare I say most injures with as well. So don't be afraid to use him, as you're going to need to get used to how him and his power works to really be able to benefit from the twins efficiently. Don't get me wrong, you're going to need to spend time as Charlotte as well, knowing how and when to leave her dormant to give as much pressure as you can, while she controls the area of the map that you leave her in. But that's pretty much a little bit of their power covered and how to effectively use it. Now I'm going to move on to tips and tricks so it can help you put the things I've just told you into better practice. And now we have quite a couple to get through, but I've tried to make them as streamlined, as easy as for you to understand. So let's begin with number 1. You might think pouncing on injured survivors is the best thing to do all of the time. However, be careful about pouncing on injured survivors if they have teammates around, especially if they're healthy. As if you hit the pounce and down the injured survivor, all that's going to happen is you're going to get kicked by the healthy survivor and they'll get them healed before you can get there, depending on where Charlotte is. Instead, pounce on the healthy survivor to incapacitate them and to make them not be able to heal at all. If they're both injured, I'd just use your best judgment and try and not get them when they're on top of each other. Tip number 2 is about pallets. Now, Victor is able to down survivors who are camping pallets. All you need to do is take a few steps back and wait. Now, if they're in a standoff with you, you can do 2 things. Either pounce randomly to catch the survivor off guard, or wait until they throw down the pallet and are locked in the animation, as you'll be able to jump over the pallet at a certain distance, hitting them anyway and wasting the pallet. Also, a great way to get hits off pounce is to wait until survivors are bottlenecked between 2 sides, like a pallet or a small hallway, as if survivors can't really zigzag or evade, it's more or less guaranteed to hit if you time it right. Now with Charlotte, you are able to body block. Keep this in mind at loops to help pressure survivors away from the loops and to hit them as Victor. It works amazing at places like Shack. Also worth noting is you can actually block totems as Charlotte as well whilst doing damage as Victor. But try not to do this unless there are several injured members of the team, as you won't really benefit from healthy ones. And be careful body blocking as Charlotte though, because if you do get pallet stunned whilst dormant, it will immediately swap you back to Charlotte, so her best bet is to leave her indoors and at vaults. My next tip is a very important one, and that is to be patient as Victor. It is very easy to get carried away with pounces as Victor, but spamming them whenever you can is only going to result in you getting kicked. Survivors love to spin in circles and be unpredictable with Victor who's holding his pounce. Wait until the right moment, and the way I get more hits is by slowly backing away to get a better view of the survivors whilst you can. The survivor is often going to try and close that distance back up with you and run towards you as in a straight line. Use this time to pounce when they are trying to close the distance. It's kind of hard to explain, but hopefully the visuals on screen help. Use the pounce for distance. Similar to Demagogue, and if you pounce from high elevation, say a 2nd story building like the saloon or on top of one of the tall hills, you will travel a lot further than pouncing from the floor. And when you use to Victor in his trajectory of the pounce, you can actually use this to get hits on unsuspecting survivors who are maybe healing or working on a gen. It is tricky and it won't happen every game, but it can happen. Also quickly worth mentioning, unlike Demogorgon, Victor has horrible time pouncing upstairs, so try not to do this, as a lot of the time you'll pounce half a foot, smack into the wall, and the person you're chasing will just come back and kick you. Never pounce on stairs if you can. If you have to swap back from Victor, try to leave him in a high traffic place where it'll be easier for survivors to set off Killer Instinct and give you information whilst you relocate or chase as Charlotte. It's great for mind games if you're chasing as well, as by the time you've changed to Victor and hit the survivor who set off Killer Instinct, the survivor that you were chasing as Charlotte will have either moved away from the loop and will be maybe easier to hit, or will still be there waiting for your return, wasting their time. Now, something that a lot of new players fear about the twins is kidnapping, and when it happens they will immediately panic and try and find the kidnapper to down and get Victor back. However, Victor being kidnapped isn't actually as bad as you think. For if you hit a survivor with a pounce and that survivor runs off and keeps Victor, that gives you free reign to chase other members of the team or regress gens, whilst the player with Victor will be forced to do absolutely nothing to move the game forward. And they can actually give you information about the rest of the team. So when this happens, try to get some pressure and info from the kidnapper before hunting them down, as you can always recall Victor back after a short while anyway. When hooking a survivor, you may think it's better to leave Victor close to be able to survey the area and pounce on any survivors who have set off Killer Instinct. It's actually smarter to leave Charlotte close and patrol as Victor. Don't forget, he is the scout, he is the one that you will be doing a lot of the damage with, so use him to go and injure and down other survivors while Charlotte guards the area. Not only can survivors kick Victor and then get a free unhook, trying to unhook with a dormant Charlotte nearby is almost always more intimidating, as when you're unhooked you can immediately transport back and pressure the survivors again. Now, this one's going to be a bit of a controversial tip. A lot of survivors hate going up against the twins as they have a playstyle more suited to slugging, and survivors hate being slugged, quite rightly so. However, within moderation, it is completely valid to slug as the twins, as hitting down multiple survivors as Victor in a single flurry is exactly what makes the twins so powerful and gives them so much map pressure. it's not recommended you try slugging to get a 4k at 5 gens, as because sometimes getting greedy can actually cause you to lose a ton of pressure if survivors know how to work around it, and having a survivor hooked is a great way to get additional pressure. But if you're smart about it and presented with the opportunity, don't be afraid to slug, as survivors who know how to counter the twins won't be caught out by a slugging victor as easily, and I'll get onto how you can do that as survivor in a little while. A tip for new players, as I've genuinely introduced so many people to this that didn't know, but that Victor can interact with lockers if survivors are in them. He basically runs up, checks it, and then traps them inside for 12 seconds, giving you time to get to the locker and to catch them as Charlotte, just in case anybody didn't know. And that pretty much covers everything. There may be some small tips here and there that I forgot to mention, but with all the tips that I've just given and with some practice, you should be a lethal twins in no time. So now, onto the survivor side and how do you counter the twins. Now, the easiest tip I can give is to simply run in pairs when you can. Teams of 2 are the twins' biggest weakness in any situation. You're only ever going to realistically injure or down one survivor, especially if there's always somebody close to kick Victor or revive down players, while Charlotte tries to get over to the map towards you. And if you do that, run in pairs, kick Victor, you are taking a lot of pressure away from the twins, as they need this snowball pressure to do well. When being chased as Victor, stick to small loops that aren't big enough for Victor to get a pounce on, but aren't small enough that he can stray slightly left or right to take a hit. Rocks are a perfect example from this. Looping at the rocks doesn't give Victor enough time to charge and hit his pounce at the best of times, and if he even tries, he'll probably just bounce off one of the rocks and make him very easily hittable instead. Similar to hag traps, crouching doesn't alert killer instinct when Victor's idle. Use this to your advantage by crouch walking away from a loop if the twins are trying to mind game with constant switching, or to get up close and kick him without even alerting Charlotte. Now, similar to Roni, heal as often as you can. Victor is at his best when every survivor is downable with a single use of his power, so make sure he can't get slugging pressure by healing as often as you can, and always trying to have one healthy survivor to one injured survivor at best. As previously said, this weakens the twins' pressure like you wouldn't believe. Similar to the Demogorgon, you can bait Victor into pouncing by pretending to vault. Just run towards the pallet or window, and when you're almost there, left turn or right turn, and hopefully the Victor will have panic clicked into pouncing straight into the wall, or at least over the pallet or loop, creating more distance between you. Now, I'm going to absolutely hate telling you this little tip, but if you are a survivor on Haddonfield against the twins, if you are being chased by Victor, vault the windows of the Myers house onto the balcony, and Victor will not be able to hit you at all. He will either pounce through the window or he will pounce and hit the wall. There's nothing he can do to get onto that balcony to get you. It's quite dirty, to be honest. If you're being chased as Charlotte with Victor on your back, do not remove him. Not only does removing him stop your movement completely when you've finished the progress bar, which can result in a very easy free down, but looping with Victor completely removes him from Charlotte's inventory, which gives the rest of your team free reign to work whilst you loop her, and she can't use Victor again against you at the loop. She may recall him after some time, but to be fair, that's completely out of your hands. And the last tip I have for you is another surprising one, because sometimes I see survivors do this far too much, is kick Victor whenever you can. The amount of times I've downed a survivor with a teammate close or missed a pounce on a character I'm chasing, and the survivor has just kind of either walked away a little bit or been confused on what to do, kick Victor, get rid of him so that I basically have to start as Charlotte again, make up a bunch of distance, and then either try and find them as Charlotte or send out Victor once again and hope that I can find them again. Either way, it's wasting my time. But be careful about leaving the kick too late, as if there's a little bit too much distance or you start to approach him too late, you may have not time to kick him and the Victor can just get an easy hit whilst you're trying. And guys, that's pretty much everything I think you'll need to know about playing the twins at their best, and also how to counter the ones that you come across as efficiently as possible. So let me know what you think, and if any of these tips have helped improve your twins gameplay or going against the twins at all. Also, for those interested helping me pick the killer guides in the future, feel free to join the Discord. From today up to a week, I'm going to be posting a vote which basically decides on who the next killer's going to be, so feel free to join the Discord and to check the killer guides tab to help vote for the next guide. And for those aware, I also stream on Twitch like 4 times a week, so for those who want a little bit more killer content, or if you have any question regarding killers, feel free to come over, hang out for a bit, and if you have any questions, I'll answer them to the best of my ability. It would be lovely to have you. But yeah, thanks again for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. Remember to like and subscribe if this helped you, as there are going to be more killer guides coming, and also to point out this is currently the 4th in the series, so if you want to learn anything about the Demogorgon, the Plague, or the Oni, feel free to check my other videos as well. But yeah, that's everything from me today. Take care, bye bye for now.